Hi everyone, and welcome to my vlog on all things whatever happened to live music venues in Australia. Now this vlog is all about the Crow's Nest Hotel, affectionately known at the time as Feathers. It was a venue that was not as big, size-wise as other venues in suburban Sydney. It was on the lower North Shore, and I guess it could only fit about maybe 200 people from my memory. So I will be looking at some of the bands that played at Feathers, some old gig listings, and if you tune in, you can hear my chat with musician Ty Coates. He was from the band The Bombers that were really popular in the late 80s and early 90s. Now, I often like to start with some history of venues, and Crow's Nest itself, the suburb, was named after the farm and cottage that Edward Wollstonecraft established, and the Crow's Nest Hotel was actually built in 1927 for the brewing company 80's. In fact, I've got this article here that references plans to build a 3-story hotel, and that involved demolishing a large block of shops. So yeah, I was able to find that. Now, the reason pubs in Australia are called hotels is because many of them kind of offer accommodation as well as a bar. Now, the Crow's Nest Hotel opened with a public bar and 33 bedrooms, and I understand it is a heritage-listed building to this day. Of course, other sort of conglomerates came forward, Woolworths being one of them, and others, I guess. And I guess the Crowy, as they call it these days, sort of isn't just a typical suburban corner pub. Stay tuned for what happened to the Crow's Nest Hotel. So let's dive into the real reason we're here. Basically, it was just a fantastic live music venue. It was called Feathers, and yeah, it was on a corner in Crow's Nest, and it was just fantastic. It had some amazing, bands. The earlier bands that played there, the earliest I could find was 83. So John Day, David Gibbons, Steve Arell, they were kind of solo acts that played there. And then bands like Mood Indigo, Matakali Music, Brett Lee's band, Six and Out, apparently played there. Bands like The Beatniks, Generation, Soul Survivors, Ups and Downs, Jeff Duff, Bondi Cigars, and even Mark Williams when he was a solo act. And an interesting artist that I found played there once was Keith Urban, and he, apparently he was there in the early days. And even the artist Pat Drummond, who played at Feathers, he actually commented on a Facebook chat where he remembers seeing Keith Urban watching him in the audience. So I've managed to find the gig listing when Keith Urban played at Feathers at Crow's Nest. Here it is here, if you can see that. And it's, as well, there's Phil Emmanuel playing on the Thursday night. The Clouds are playing on the Tuesday night. And Keith Urban is there on the Wednesday. So it does say that he's the winner of the 1990 Tamworth Star Maker. It's an absolute find. It's Thursday the 17th of May, 1990. That's when it was listed in the Sydney Morning Herald Gig Guide. That's where a lot of these guides are from. So, yeah, really interesting find, this one. Look, I wanted to quote a thing that Paul Kelly wrote or said, and he references, when he talks about musicians in Australia. He said, "You don't learn how to write a song at school. You don't do a TAFE course on how to play in front of an audience. Small venues were my university." And I think, that kind of sums everything up. Truer words have never been spoken. Look, the period that I'm going to be referring to in this vlog will mostly be around, the kind of mid to late 80s and early 90s. So Sydney's exciting golden era has been talked about endlessly by myself and, in mainstream media, online forums. So a lot of people already have sort of learnt about that period. I did see in an old Daily Telegraph article, in fact, in 88, where they said the Cockroaches were called the hardest working rock and roll band in Australia on account of having played over 300 gigs in 1 year. That's amazing. We do know that this period was a lot, busier. It was exciting. And I guess in hindsight, it kind of feels that people were more interested and supportive of live bands. Even tribute bands at one point were attracting huge audiences. I did go to Feathers. It was, just a really cute little pub. I remember it, fondly. And it's located here on the corner of, I think it's Falcon and Willoughby Road, I think it might be on. This is the entry. So I understand this is where the bands used to play, and just panning it around so you can get an idea. So Feathers, Crow's Nest Hotel. This is what it looks like today in 2024. I'm pretty sure this is where the bands used to play. My memory is that there was a section where you could sort of go up some stairs, like a loft. I don't know, it was a long time ago. They have renovated it. Looks like there's a DJ booth here, and they still do have live bands. So hopefully this is where the bands used to play, and I've got the location right. I'll just move along up here. In fact, I think I remember this bit up here. Oh, there's another bar over here. My friend Tony, actually, at the time, she introduced me to the band The Bombers, and they were the band that I saw there a lot. Look, I have recently chatted with Ty Coates, their amazing vocalist, who, by the way, plays a mean saxophone, or he used to. So he tells an interesting story about when the Bombers were signed to the US label A&M, and that has a lot to do with the venue Feathers. And this one is the one I wanted to talk about, was the Feathers Crow's Nest.
Oh, yeah.
Because I know you had a residency there. There it is there.
Yeah.
At Crow's Nest, the Feathers Crow's Nest.
It was great.
Yeah.
We were there. I think we played every week or every 2 weeks. I can't recall now.
I think it was every week.
Yeah, it could have been it for a while, and we just built the crowd up, and it was just an amazing thing. And we got some nice relationships with some of the punters as well. They come in and that's one thing I wanted to mention with John and Alan, especially Alan being very humble. He'd always have time, no matter who came up and said, because they were just awestruck. Alan,
yeah, absolutely.
And he'd just always give them a minute. He'd say, look, how's the sound out the front? And he'd just sort of get them involved. Lovely guy. The tour manager and the harmonica player was Status Quo, a guy called Bob Young.
Mm-hmm.
And he came out, and we thought, let's do a live recording. So we ended up getting a mobile studio to come down to Feathers, and they parked out the front, and it was pouring with rain this night we recorded it. And they had all the cables coming in from the truck into the venue, and there was all this water running down the street, and it was like, oh my God, we're all going to get electrocuted here. But we recorded it, and that was that's what got us our American record deal. I think a couple of years ago, there's an English record company called Barrel and Squidger, bit of an unusual name. But Alan had a good relationship, and they're very big on the Quo thing, and they was releasing some Quo stuff, and we ended up with a guy, I think I want to say Germany. Anyway, he reached out to this guy and he got it mastered, and it sounds bloody amazing. Like, just hearing that record, it just made me remember what an awesome band it was. Because this record was absolutely untouched. There was no edits, there was no overdubs. It was just as it was, warts and all, and it sounded amazing. The vocals were in tune, the guitars were in tune, it's just great.
Wow.
And it just got released, and it's about, I think a couple of years ago it was released by Barrel and Squidger, and it did okay in the UK, and I've got a copy of it. It was a picture discount.
You can also hear Ty chatting to Alan Lancaster, a member of the Bombers who was also a member of Status Quo. It's actually on the Bombers website, so they talk about when that recording happened at Feathers. It's an interesting story, so I will put some links in my description. Now, let's have a look at some interesting newspaper clippings that I found, as well as later I'll show you some on-the-street advertisements. This one is The Bombers. It was December 1988. So you can see some bands like Enormous Horns, just various other bands, you know, the Cadillacs, the Hippos, the Headhunters played here. Now, I've highlighted some of them because I do actually recall seeing these bands. Again, the Headhunters, and this one is also Steve Gilpin and the Hippos. And as we all know, Steve was the lead vocalist of My Sex. Hi, Sarah. His beautiful daughter, Sarah. Goes to a lot of gigs with me, actually. This one is dated February 89. You can see the Bombers playing here, as well as Robbie Krupski, Red Gum, Ed Cooper, and I think I see the band Chain. So yeah, that's interesting. This one is also quite interesting to me because it's Stevie Wright when he had his band Hard Rain. It's dated January 1990, and I have some fantastic memories of seeing Stevie Wright when he was with Hard Rain. Oh, they were an amazing band, and you can find clips on YouTube. So yeah, that's a really interesting one. This is, again, you know, the highlighted ones are ones that I've seen a lot of. Wrecking Crew, amazing. Dave Wilkins, Brent, just some fantastic musicians. As well, Demont, a band that was really popular at the time with, you know, people like me that love their boogie rock blues. They were just rock and roll. The Hurricanes, an amazing band. Yeah, so I used to go with, you know, some friends, Tony, Gina, Sally, Daryl, Shelley. Just, yeah, some amazing friendships were formed when we used to go to places like Feathers. Baby Animals are on here as well, so that was early days of Baby Animals. This one, again, I wanted to highlight a band called Modern Primitive. A lot of, you know, people may not know Modern Primitive, but I do recall the drummer from the Radiators, Mick Buckley, played with them, and the wonderful Naomi, who was their singer, just a powerhouse. They were fantastic. So yeah, just wanted to highlight that. That was April 1990. I didn't realise the Screaming Jets played at Feathers. I don't know how they would have done that because, yeah, the stage is only tiny. But that's dated August in 1990. And you can see some other bands that played there. This one, Sharon O'Neill and Kevin Borich during this period. It was September 1990. They played there. Def FX. This is an interesting one. There's Ed Cooper, as well as Absent Friends, the Herbs, Paul Norton, and I can see Der Straße there. Der Straße, I recall Dario Bortolan, amazing bass player Dario, he was in that band, so yeah, there they are there. Can't really see this a lot. It's August 1990, it's Tall Tales and True and the Clouds, they played at Feathers. Screaming Tribesmen and the Flying Tigers. I recall the Flying Tigers and the Tribesmen. My friend Tony used to love them, and I remember seeing them a few times with her. Fear of Falling. Apparently they were a great Brisbane band. And who can forget Judge Mercy? So a lot of my friends will be familiar with Judge Mercy. So they played there, and this is dated, what's it dated? 91. UMI. And funnily enough, they're below the Hard-Ons. I kind of would have put it the other way around because I'm a massive UMI fan. That's March 91. As well, you can see in this ad the All-Nighters and Le Club Nerd. I remember seeing them advertised everywhere. I think I may have seen them. I remember seeing Enormous Horns a lot too. Some great bands back in the day. Killing Time. Wow, how amazing. And Mal Eastick, he was one of my favourite and still is, blues artists, fabulous musician. This is dated 1991 in September. This one I wanted to show you, I've mentioned Modern Primitive, but I wanted to show you Frozen Doberman. They were, from memory, they were a metal band. And I remember, again, my friend Tony loved them. So that's dated April 91. So I wanted to show you some on the street magazines that feature Feathers. Now this one is dated May 1988. It has the Lime Spiders on it. It's a little bit kind of tattered and torn, but you can see, the wonderful Lime Spiders. And I wanted to show you obviously, the ad for Feathers. And here it is here. So you can kind of get an idea of all the bands that were on. And I'm loving the picture over here of Ed Cooper as well, and Kevin Borich playing at Tracks. And that venue is Banjos. So yeah, stay tuned for, you know, future vlogs about those particular venues. But there's an ad for 1988 at Feathers as well. This one is 1990, and it's got, what's on the cover? There's a Gay and Gals Sydney's Mardi Gras on the cover of this one. Advertisement or advertisement. Apparently it's advertisement, not advertisement, the kids tell me. So there's some more bands playing here. Again, you know, you get an idea. And can we just also focus on Renee Gayer? Rest in peace. What a wonderful, wonderful artist. So yeah, just more bands. The Hummingbirds, actually. I forgot they played there. So yeah, what a wonderful ad that is. That's dated 7th of February 1990. Johnny Rotten, there he is there. John Lydon, I think his name is, his real name. Here we go. We've got another advertisement, and yeah, so December 1990. You can see some tribute bands there, the Radiators, and it's also interesting looking at the other venues, and that one next to it is the Empire Hotel, and that's the Backsliders. That's Rob Hurst's band, the Backsliders, and Dave Tice's Headhunters. So yeah, some fantastic bands that were playing during this period. I love 1990. Here we go. This one's got Lenny Kravitz on the cover. It's dated 1990, I believe, and it's when Welcome Matt had their launch, I think it was, their singles launch. Oh no, actually that was Broken Word that had that. Yeah, just interesting. Again, look at the other ads. There's Springfields, and I'm sure I was at one of those gigs there. Yeah, really, really interesting looking at some of these, you know, street press. So just fantastic. You know, I don't have that many, but the ones that I have, you know, you get an idea of the bands that were on. So yeah, it's just been a real treat, you know, going through some of these street press. So hope you've enjoyed it. Now, as far as whatever happened to Feathers, it is still there. You know, they do have Friday night bands and DJs. Saturdays they have DJs, and once a month they have Sundays with blues artists. And in fact, I was able to find certain bands that play there recently, including the amazing Harry Bruce, wonderful bass player. Harry Bruce, he's been around for a long time and he's just marvellous. I will have to do a vlog on Harry soon. So yeah, just that's whatever happened to Feathers at Crow's Nest. It is still there. It does look very different. However, it's good to know that there are still bands that play there, maybe not as frequently, but hey, you know, beggars can't be choosers. So thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this vlog, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.